0706
Àbá mi
one
ń
four
kàn
six
bọ̀.
five zero. Ebe tí mo máa sọ lójú fọ́ọ̀sì ọ̀la.
Gbogbo Hello, good morning. Am I being heard? Hello? Please, if you can hear me, type a yes. All right, all right. I want to apologize for the delay. I had some issues with my network, my system. I'm sorry about that. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll start off our analysis today. All right, so first off, my name is Don Deo. I will be your instructor for today. And we are going to start off by looking at the fundamental analysis scheduled for this morning. Now, just as you know, we normally will be using the Forex Factory. So I'll be sharing my screen now so that we can have a look at what we have on the table for today being Friday. So quickly, if you are on your system, you can as well, please, if you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in the comment section. I'll be going through the questions as we progress. So from time to time, I will come to the comments to the chat to check the questions that have been dropped. So feel free to drop your questions if you have any. All right, so let me share my screen now so that we can see what we have for today. So just like I said, we're starting off with the fundamental analysis. And I am using forexfactory.com. All right, so I want to believe you can see my screen now. So I scroll down, and on Friday, so today is Friday, the 5th of July, 2024. And for today, we have some major news, the non-farm payroll specifically. Now, if you look at what we have on the calendar, we want to do a very quick overview of the fundamentals before we now move into the technical analysis. You can see that we have non-farm payroll by 1:30. And along with non-farm payroll, we have the average hourly earnings and unemployment rates. These are major news events that will be released by 1:30. We all know the effect non-farm payroll do have on the market. And from what we see, it's estimated that the non-farm payroll for the month of June low. That is to say that the previous number was 272,000. And the forecast is saying that there's going to be a decline, which is 191. So this previous was the figure of May, from May. And then the number we are expecting today is the figure for June, even though we are in July, figure for June. So the estimate or the focus that there's a decline in the number of jobs that were established. Now, this decline means a lot. So once you look at the calendar and then you see the previous and the focus, and then you notice that the focus is less than the previous, it means a lot. It means a lot. So if we are looking at today's data, even before the news actually comes out, it then tells you that on a global scale, that investors and traders are expecting a lower figure. But we know how the market does or how the data come out. Sometimes it may not be true. Sometimes the figure may be higher than the forecast, yes. But what this tells you is that there's a tendency for that figure to be lower. Why? Because if you look at the data that has been coming out on the United States dollar for this week as a whole, most of those info data has been in the red, has been declining. So all of these things are suggesting that the economy of the US is cooling down, especially the labor market. So the labor market is cooling down. And if this is true, today's data will confirm. If that is so, then there's a tendency that the Fed will now cut rate or begin to consider cutting rates in September. That is the major reason why these data are important as of now. because the central banks need to use this information to decide whether interest rates should still be kept as it is, or they should now begin the cutting of the rates. So analysts are estimating that the Fed will start cutting their rates from September. And they also estimate that that might be the only cut for the year. But that will depend on the information that we receive today as per the non-farm payroll. So what we are seeing is if the numbers on the non-farm payroll becomes less than forecast, and not just the numbers on the non-farm payroll, also the average hourly earning, very important. So it is not only the non-farm payroll that is being watched today, also the average hourly earning. If these two drop, then we should see the dollar decline massively. But if average hourly earning is high, which is more than forecast, and non-farm payroll is reduced, might see, there might be a spike up and down. So just as non-farm payroll is important, that is how the average hourly earning is also very, very important, especially when it comes to taking decision as to reduction of the interest rate or not. So for now, remember, this is fundamental analysis. We cannot ask the actual now. Yes, there's no way we can even guess the actual. But what we can say is that an eye on the data, we are very certain that if this data comes below focus, then the dollar will depreciate. If it rises above the focus, then we expect to see appreciation in the dollar. But also have it at the back of your mind that today, do not look at just the non-farm payroll. Keep an eye on the average hourly earning, very, very important. Because the average hourly earning is one of the reasons why non-farm payroll might spike move in one direction, and then before you know it, it has reversed in the other direction. That is it for the, all right, so someone is saying my audio is shaking. Please confirm if it's clear. Now let me make some adjustments. All right, please confirm if my audio is clear. It's clear. All right, thank you very much. So please, I want to believe that you understand what we are looking at. So today's market, we may not see so much move because of the non-farm payroll. Yes, this particular one is very crucial because it's not like the other ones you may have known before. This year is where the Fed needs to consider before they take a very crucial decision, either to hold their rate or to cut the rate. So it is a very important data that is being released. So you want to be very careful. And that is the more reason why, that is one of the reasons why you may not see so much move in the market until the time of the non-farm payroll. So with that being said, if you have any question regarding what I have just typed or discussed, feel free to drop your question. So now let's move to the technicals and then see what we have in store. So I will share my screen so that we can see my chart, so you can see my charts, and then we'll quickly look at what we have in store for today. All right, so I want to believe you can see my chart. So first off, we want to start by looking at the dollar index. Very important. Now the dollar index shows us overall what's happening dollar. So quickly, give me a few minutes to make some adjustments. Please give me a few minutes. Please plug my other chart. All right. Okay. Now, this is the dollar index. So I'm currently on the dollar index. So we are looking at what the dollar has in store for us. So give me a few minutes to get rid of all of these points I have on my chart. All All right. We'll start off with the daily D1. Now, on the daily, I am looking at the move. So without so much complexity, if you look at the chart on the dollar index, you'll notice that we are moving down. We are going down. For the month of July, we've seen only down candles. So for the few days in the month of July, we've seen the dollar go lower. And that is largely due to the fact that the economy is cooling down. That is, of the information or the data is coming out from the US is suggesting that the labor market is cooling down. If the labor market is cooling down, then there's a tendency that inflation will also be going down, or the inflation will be reducing. Inflation is reducing, then there's a likelihood that interest rate will be cut. But the data today is one of the major data that will decide or determine whether this move to the downside will continue or not. But on a technical level, we expect to see further moves to the downside, because you notice something. If you look at the charts, what I have marked here is what is called the high of the previous month. So this is the high price from the previous month. And down here, we have the lowest price from previous month. So there's a tendency that for this month, or for this month of June, we're actually trending within the range of last month. We are trending within the range of the previous month. So what we expect is a likelihood of a continuation to the downside to go below this particular low. Take note that down here, we have this support line. Sorry, let me see if I... Sorry, I want to... okay. All right, so we have this support level here. So there's this support down here on the dollar index, which is most likely to hold price if price decide to fall down to that region. And then on the upside, we have this level. So we have a level up. So you can see that for the past few months, we've actually been in a kind of a range. So we have these two levels. Now, what I'm saying in essence is there's a tendency for price to fall to at least this particular region. That will largely depend on what happened to the data that is being released today. Now, on the H4 time frame, I see we have this move to the downside, very massive move, already exceeded last week's low price. So this is the lowest price from last week, which we have exceeded. Now, whenever you see a situation like this, there's a tendency for a continuation to the downside. So the dollar is currently weak. There's a tendency for the weakness to continue. Already, we are already seeing selling, because the focus on the data is suggesting that the numbers might be weak or the numbers might be low. We're already seeing the push to the downside. Now, if the news comes out and it turns out to be negative, then we should expect that the dollar will move all the way down to at least this particular low. Look at the low there. So we expect that the dollar will move down and exceed this low down here if news is negative. But if we find out that the news comes out and then it turns out to be positive, then what will happen is a retracement. So we will most likely see a retracement of this particular move, the market retracing to around this region. Now, that retracement will now be a move. Next week also, we have some other news that we are expecting. But for this week, we should expect a retracement up to this region if the data is positive. This area is the Fibonacci retracement on this move to the downside. If the news is negative, then we should expect a continuation to the downside all the way down to at least a particular low that we're experiencing down here. So on the dollar, for now, we cannot really give any clear direction. But from the look of things and from the trend, you can clearly see that we are most likely, or we are in a downtrend. Now, in addition to another confluence that we'll be looking at is this. You look at the previous trend. Now I am on H4. This H4 is a weekly time frame. So I'm looking at it on a weekly basis. So the demarcations you are seeing is on a weekly basis. So before, you can see the uptrend. We were in this uptrend. Market was going up. But now we have broken the trend line. You can see the break of the trend line. Now, having broken the trend line, usually there's always or sometimes a retracement of some sort. So we expect a retracement, but that retracement will only come if the news is positive. Yes, if the news is positive. But from the look of things, the news may not be positive. Although in the time past, the dollar has surprised us by giving us positive numbers when we expect negative numbers. So you cannot be sure about that. So, but I personally, I am expecting or anticipating that the numbers will be negative, or the numbers might be poor, and then we'll see a continuation to the downside. So with this being said, let's now look at some tradable pairs. First off, we look at AUD-USD. Now, on AUD-USD, you can see we've been pushing up to the upside, pushing up. Now, AUD-USD is a very good instrument or currency as of this moment to be buying. The reason is because the Bank of Australia, the Reserve Bank of Australia, has mentioned that they are not ready to cut their rate anytime soon. So it is very likely that they might hold their interest rates up till end of the year because of the high inflation that they are still experiencing and the reimbursed labor market. So Australian dollar turns out to be one of the best performing currencies among the G10 currencies so far. So there's a tendency for Australian dollar to keep appreciating. Now, if the news on the dollar turns out to be positive, what you would most likely see on the Australian dollar is a retracement of this move. So you might see a retracement of this move. Now, usually when the market has moved this much, there's usually a retracement to around 61.8% of the previous move. So the move is from down here all the way up here. And permit me to look at the chart. Let's see if I have all right, so the move is from down here, which turns out to be the lowest price for this week, all the way up to this point. Now, there's usually going to be a retracement to at least 1.8% of that move before a continuation to the upside. So this retracement will only occur if the data today is positive for the dollar. So if the data is positive, then we'll see a retracement of this nature. The market runs down to around this area, and then subsequently we might continue pushing higher. But for today, expect if the news is negative, then we should expect a continuation higher. So the AUD-USD is likely to continue higher. And if it continues higher, then there's a tendency that we might almost run above high that you're experiencing up there. So for AUD-USD, since today is the news, what we'll do is we will mostly go in with a pending order. So let me quickly show you what to do. So we'll most likely go in with a pending order for the trade. All right. So the best areas, in my opinion, to be placing a buy stop would be in this area. So let me quickly draw this. Now remember that yesterday was a holiday in the United States. So there was no much activity in the market. So the market more or less was just ranging, and so this area I have marked is where most likely will be the best place to be buying. What I'm saying in essence is if the market drops all the way down, that is only if the news is positive, then you can start buying from around this region. Now, the reason why I'm saying buying on the US, on AUD-USD, is because the AUD is strong, fundamentally, very strong. So even if the non-farm payroll this week turns out to be, there's a tendency that the move down may not last, to reverse. So by next week, you will see reversals, market reverse, and then everything continues higher. So the move down, if news on the dollar today turns out positive, then you should targeting buying AUD from around this region. Now, but for those of us that may want to take advantage of the news today, what I would suggest is pending order. A pending order below today's low price. You can see today's low price point. A pending order below low price, that is a sell stop, and then a buy stop around 10 pips above the current market price. So a buy stop at around 10 pips above the current market price, a sell stop below the current market price. Now, this pending order is for the news, maybe let's say around 10 minutes, 5 minutes before the news. 5 pips above the current market or 10 pips above the current market price, you place your buy stop. So what I mean is around somewhere here, I'm not giving you any specific value, any specific number. Place your buy stop, and then down here like this, place your sell stop. Something like this. Then you wait for the news. Or what we are going to experience is the market will range until the time of the news. We do not expect to see any reasonable moves in the market until the time of non-farm payroll. So by that time, I think we would see some other clarity as to what's happening in the market. But for now, buy stop above the current market price, which is around 10 pips above the current market price, and then sell stop below today's low price. This is today's low price. Then you just wait for the market to move. Now, if the market drops, when the market drops, if at all the news turns out positive and the market drops, take your profit at around this region, around the area of 0.669, take your profit. This blue line you're seeing, the first blue line. So you take your profit at around that region, and for a buy trade, if it goes up, then there's a tendency to go up for a very long time. There's a tendency to go up for a very long time. On AUD USD, we are expecting a retracement to around this region, which would only happen if the news turns out to be positive. If the news turns out to be positive, take your profit at around 0.6690, around that area. Else, if it's negative, then your buying will just take you up and then you're higher. All right, so let me quickly go through the questions and quickly answer the question and then look at some other things. Someone is asking a question. The person is saying, how many pips above and below the current market price do I set my pending order for fundamental news? Yes, you can do that. Just set like 10 pips above the current market price. Give it some space, give it time. But you are going to be setting this before the time of the news. That is before the news drop, like 5 minutes to the news or 10 minutes to the news. Once it's 5 minutes to the news, the market will pop. Everything will just slow down, completely slow down. Give you an opportunity to set your pending order. Remember that if you set it when the news is on, most times your trade will not trigger. So what I mean is, if you want to buy when the news is already on, because of the volatility in the market, most times you will get an off quote. Yes, it's a general thing. It's not just, it's normal. That's how it's always. So the best way is to enter with your pending orders. So you set your pending orders a few minutes before the news, and then make sure that you also have a stop loss, appropriate stop loss. So look for where you place your stop loss appropriately. If you're placing your buy stop above here, then your stop loss should be around the current market price. That's where you place your stop loss. All right. Now, 8 pips above and 50 euro for Euro USD is okay, fine. Yes. 8 pips above and 8 pips below is okay for Euro USD. Very okay. You can do that. Very, very okay. You're correct. And then the other one says, sir, can we do USD card? Yes, we can look at USD card. Sir, I have been on sale. So please, if someone is saying he has been on sale for pound USD since on Monday, the pound USD is not selling. Because if you have followed the data that has been coming out, there's no point for you holding a sell on pound USD. Now, how do you know when the dollar is weak? Most times you can anticipate the weakness in the dollar by looking at gold. Look at gold, you see how gold has moved. So there's a high tendency that even till up to next week, the dollar might still be weak, depending on the data today. So there's no point even hedging. There's no point hedging because this move to the downside on the dollar may last longer than you anticipated. So imagine if you sold on Monday, and today is Friday. Now go to Pan USD and look at the move Friday and Monday. Then imagine if from next week the same length or the same number of pips will be done in the market. So there may be a very high tendency that the market may not come back to entry anytime soon. And if you hedge, you know that when you hedge, your other trade keeps increasing in loss. So at what point do you close a lot? So when you hedge, you are doing yourself a great disfavor. There's no point hedging because at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. When you close the one that is in profit, one in loss, you still eat up most of the profit. What do you think is the best thing to do? If you have placed the trade and you are in loss, take the loss. Had closed that trade since on Tuesday, you have still had enough money to trade today. You know, Bob Marley sang a song. He said, if you fight and run, you live to fight another day. So take your losses, count your losses. There's no point hedging. Close your trade, take the loss, look for trades that will enable you recover your losses. All right. So hope this is not too close because okay, so gold next, gold. So I'm getting a lot of gold analytics. All right, I'm on buy now on USD JPY. On loss. Yes, USD JPY is falling. Yeah, because it has been overbought for a very long time. Most times I advise against USD JPY because of how it moves and because of the fear of intervention from the Bank of Japan. So there have been a drop on USD JPY. Now, the good news is that there's a tendency for you to retrace back up. But all that will depend on the data that will be released. That is why on the days of NFP, very, very dangerous to just place trade carelessly. Want to be very careful, especially today's NFP, because today's NFP is a very, very important one. They may not be, because it needs to be taken. That is why you want to be very careful. Don't know how to calculate pips, stay out of market. All right, so I think I've taken most part of the questions. All right, so let's quickly look at USD CAD. So on USD CAD, we should see movement to the downside. So you can see movement to the downside on the USD CAD, suggesting that the dollar is currently weak. I said before, if you look at the data that has been coming out on the dollar the whole of this week, notice that they have been negative. They have all been negative. So we've seen negative data on the dollar for the entirety of this week. And that's because the negative data itself are not that bad, but it shows that the economy is now beginning to do well. Yes, inflation rate is dropping. That is what it means. It means that the inflation rate is dropping. So it in itself is not bad. But the challenge, the problem here is that with the drop in this data, the Fed or the bank, the Federal Reserve, is now poised or might be considering cutting interest rates. And once interest rate is cut, investors will want to pull out money from the dollar before that happens. So if they are anticipating that interest rate will be cut by September, not in September, they will start to pull out money from the dollar. Start pulling out money from the dollar from now and start buying other currencies that still has the chances of holding their rates. Now, remember, when we talk of interest rate, we simply mean the amount that is paid on the money you deposit in the bank. So if you put money in the bank for a period of time, you're paying an interest or you're paid an interest. So that amount is the interest rate we are referring to. So once the data are coming out negative, these are the data that the banks are looking at to decide whether interest rates should be cut or held. So right now, we need the data to suggest that the labor market is declining or the labor market is losing its steam. If the labor market is losing steam, then that is tendency that inflation might be cooling off. And if inflation is cooling off, then they will now begin to cut rates. And if they are estimating a cut in September, money will be pulling out of, they will be pulling out money from the dollar from now. That is why you see the dollar declining. It doesn't really translate, mean that the economy is bad. The economy is not really bad. It just means that investors need another currency or other currencies that the rates are likely to stay higher for a longer period of time. And one of those currencies is AUD and NZD. All right, so for the CAD, we can see the move to the downside. So what do we expect? Now, if you look closely, you see the support line or the level where we can term as a support. So you can see the green line I'm drawing on the chart. So there's a tendency we are now currently at this level. Now, one of the things most persons would expect when we get to something like this is you might expect that the market will retrace all the way up from here. But many times you will notice that there's going to be a break of this. The news today turns out to be negative. Then there is a tendency for this level, which I have just marked on USD CAD, to be exceeded. So we should expect the market to break below this support. And it is only the kind of news that we are expecting today that has that momentum break below a support of nature. So, on my opinion, looking at USD CAD, I will position myself for a sell rather than a buy, even though we are already at what seems or what looks like a support. I will position myself for a sell. Now, if the news on the dollar turns out to be positive, then what we will be experiencing on USD CAD will be a retracement. So you can see how I have drawn my Fibonacci from the high of this move, from the high of this, all the way down to where the market is currently. So the retracement I am anticipating to be to around this region. So I will be expecting a retracement to around this particular region. That is only if the news is positive. So if the news on the dollar is positive, then a retracement to this region will occur. But like I said, nobody knows the data. Nobody knows what it will be. So we don't have to prepare ourselves. So when you are doing analysis, especially with the news, you put every possible scenario into consideration. So what could happen? The news could come out positive and then it shoots up. If the news comes out negative, it could go down. So it is you that will now build yourself around those scenarios. So what do? Do you buy from here all the way up? You don't know what will happen. But when the market gets all the way up here, there's a tendency we might fall from there. So I would be more comfortable selling from up here, which is around the numbers of around 1.3710. I'll be more comfortable selling from there than buying from here all the way up there. But since we are talking about the news, we drop down to the lower time frame. What we can now do is set our pending order. So we can set our pending order. How do we do that? Set a pending order above today's current market price. Look at the highest price for today. Set your buy limit up there. And then below, somewhere below the support, place your sell stop. So if you measure from the current market price, where I am saying set your pending order, that's about 10 pips. So from the current market price to the higher price of today is about 11 pips rather. So you can set your buy limits buy stop at exactly 11 pips away from the current market price. And then your sell stop also around 6 pips away from the current market price. USD CAD. This can be done before the time of the news. So if you set a buy limit in that fashion, or a sell stop rather in that fashion, then you target to take profits at around 1.36. Right. So on a day like this, the best way I have seen to be entering the market is with pending orders. So you still have enough time. If you don't know how to set pending orders, you still have enough time to learn how to do that, you can come to the office and also go on Facebook, I mean on YouTube, and then search for videos explaining pending orders. A few minutes to go through the questions that I have here. So I have a couple of questions which I want to quickly run through before we proceed. So please, can you check APY? Why USD CHF is pushing up? All right. So yes, a good question. Someone is asking, why is USD CHF pushing up? Very good question. I will look into that for you. I will tell you why. Sir, can I trade Euro USD on the news? Of course you can. That is exactly what we are talking about. And on what time frame? You can use any time frame. Especially if you're trading the news, then you should be considering time frames like M5 or M15. M5 on M15. Remember, when you are trading the news, you are not intending to hold the trade for too long. Yes, you are not, your interest is not to hold the trade for too long. You want to make profits on the instant volatility that is taking place in the market, but in and out of the market, within a short period of time. So you are not holding the trade for an extended period of time. For how many pips for TP and all of that. So for the TP, you decide how much you want to get for TP and so on. So I think 10 pips equals to 10 point equals to 1 pip. 10 point equals to. Yes, you're correct. 10 points is equal to 1 pip. So brief explanation on sentimental analysis. Sentiment analysis. All right, someone says my voice is shaking. I don't know why my voice is shaking. All right, so please, I'm just going through the questions I have available. All right, so someone was asking, why is USD CHF going up? Yes, USD CHF is going up because the Swiss bank, the Bank of Switzerland, that is their central bank, they have cut their interest rates twice. So they have apart from JPY, the CHF has one of the lowest interest rates. And the data coming out from Switzerland suggests that they might possibly cut a third time. So there might likely be another cut on CHF. So right now, CHF is one of the banks that has reduced their interest rates twice. And there's a tendency for it to occur again because the data are suggesting that their inflation rate is declining. Inflation rate is declining, then there's a tendency they will cut again. Now, that having been said, CHF turns out to be one of the weakest currencies right now because if you currently look at the interest rate of the dollar and the CHF, the dollar is far higher than CHF. So it is better to buy USD, even though USD is weak, but CHF is weaker because of the reduction of their rate. So if you look at the interest rate of the franc, that is the Swiss currency, low is about 1 point something, while the dollar is 5.5, 5.4. You can see the difference. So that is one of the reasons why USD CHF would be going up. So let's quickly just sharply look at USD CHF and see the direction is actually going. That was I'm responding to a question that was raised by someone in the comments. All right. So USD CHF has been going up, but only recently, that is yesterday and today, we see the move to the downside. Yes, so this move to the downside is suggesting that the CHF is beginning to gain momentum, but it may not last long. All right, so I think I have answered most of the questions that are dropping in the comments. So let's see if I have further questions so that we can look at one more instrument and then. All right, so we've already, okay. How do we trade the statement for news? All right, sorry, I'm just going through this. All right, so now let's go to Euro USD. So let's look at Euro USD. So this is Euro USD on my chart. So you can see that the scenario or the things we are looking at, they are almost the same on majorly all the currency pairs. Dollar. So you can see how the euro has been in a massive uptrend against the dollar almost 2 weeks now, been going up. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there's a possibility of a retracement occurring. A retracement may occur, but I would not be so certain of a retracement. Why? Because we've already left the low of last month. Now, let me quickly mark a few points for you. So on this chart, this year turns out to be the high price from last month. So this is June's high price, the highest price from June, and this is the lowest price from June. So one of the things you will notice about the market is when the market is moving away from the low. I'll show you an example here now. So you notice how in the month of July, we rapidly and massively moved away from this low point. Look at this point, low point. We have left this low point. And whenever you see the market move in this fashion, there's a tendency that the market is targeting this high last month. So this point here, this is the highest price from last month. So there's a high tendency that the market is going to run to that high. Now, an example is what you see in this other region. Look at this area. Look at my cursor. Notice how the market ran away from the low. Look at this low of this month of May. See the market run away from this low. When it runs away from the low, it runs towards the high of that month, which is up here. So it runs for that high. So this month, we are moving away from this low. There's a tendency that we will run up to that high. Now, if the news today turns out to be negative, then we will go higher. But if the news turns out to be positive, then we will retrace, we will fall. Why are we going to fall? We will fall because this, where the market is currently, is exactly at the Fibonacci retracement from last month. So look at this. So if I draw my fib, you can see the fib I have just drawn. From the high of last month to the low of last month, we are exactly at 61.8. So look at it. We are at 61.8% retracement. So if this news today turns out to be negative, what you will see is the retracement of this move to the downside. So you see the market drop like this. But if the news is positive, sorry, if the news is positive, if the news is negative for the dollar, you will see continuation higher. But if the news is positive, then you will see the market drop. But if the news is negative, then we should expect that the Euro USD will run above this point, this high. So I want to believe what I have said because it's clear. Normally, in my analysis, I mostly use Fibonacci to measure retracements in the market. So we are seeing a retracement on last month's price action. Last month was, this is the high of last month all the way to the low. Market has retraced to around 61.8. So from this point where we are on Euro USD, we expect a kind of continuation to the downside. Take note that on Euro USD, we are already experiencing a downtrend. Look at this. I draw my trend line from up here all the way down here. Look at what we have. We are actually in a downtrend on the higher time frame. There's a tendency that we can push up and then we fall away from it. But our falling down from this point largely will depend on the news. That news is positive, we'll break above the trend line. Once we break above this trend line, then we will go higher. We are going up. But if we fail to break above the trend line, then there's a tendency we will continue lower. Because if you look at the charts, the higher time frame, we are already in a downtrend. So on the higher time frame, Euro USD has been edging down, not rapidly, slowly, but steadily. So you can see the move to the downside on Euro USD. All right. But for today, what can we do? we suggest we go in the pending order. So going in with a pending order, we would drop down to a lower time frame. These are 15 minutes time frame. So we drop down to a lower time frame, and then we place our pending order both ways. We place our pending order above the current market price, around 6 pips or 9 pips above the current market price, and 9 pips below the current market price. Then you wait for the market to. All right. So questions on the charts. I would love to trade USDT. All right. So I think that's much we can take from this analysis. Now, if you still have other questions, you can drop your questions. So someone is saying that on the chat, you are in a trade on USD JPY. USD JPY. USD JPY, what are you doing on USD JPY? Are you buying or selling? USD JPY, because I'm on a trade, I want to know my next move. On USD JPY, so let's happily look at the USD JPY. All right, so this is USD JPY. Now you have seen how the market has moved on USD JPY steadily to the upside, and this is for a very long time. We are seeing a retracement. So for like 2 weeks, first time we are experiencing a retracement on USD JPY. But the market has gotten to an extreme overbought return. So there's a high tendency for us to experience a retracement. Now, if you look closely at most of the months, this is D1. I'm on D1 right now. So within the months, there's always a period of retracement. The market moves moves to the upside for like 2 to 3 weeks. There's a likelihood for a retracement. So if it starts from here, they move to the upside, there's a mild retracement. 2 weeks to the upside or 3 weeks to the upside, we see a massive retracement. Another almost 1 month to the upside, then we notice a retracement. And then some 2 weeks up, we notice a retracement. Then we've gone all the way up to where we are now. So there's a tendency for us to retrace. So expect a retracement on USD JPY. May not be a reversal, but a retracement. Because if you look at how it has been behaving from the past, you notice if it moves a month or 2 months or sometimes 3 weeks, it retraces. Moves, it retraces. For this particular instrument, I will be expecting a retracement to around my 61.8 Fibonacci retracement. So this Fibonacci is drawn from the low of last month to the high of last month. So I will be expecting a mild retracement to around this region, at least to 50%. At least to 50%. So if that happens, then that will be a best opportunity for you to buy USD JPY from that region. But for some of us that may be aggressive, you might want to sell all the way down. But your decision to buy or sell will largely depend on news. So sometimes for currencies like this, for those of us that want to trade, and hold trade for a period of time, sometimes for currencies like this, it is from next week you will now begin to know whether this will continue higher or lower after today, after this news today. Then most of the currency pairs that we have looked at show you a much clearer direction from next week. From Monday, it's going to be very clear where the market is heading. Sometimes, if you are not interested in trading the news, it's sometimes okay to just observe and see how the market behaves, that you can take a much better decision. So for USD JPY, I would be much more comfortable buying this pair than selling it. And that will largely depend on what the market does today. The news turns out to be negative for the dollar, which I am hoping it is because The negative side, if it's negative for the dollar, there are a lot of opportunities that will come up in the market. There are a lot of opportunities, a lot of instruments that are ripe, they are ready to be bought or sold, depending on all they are waiting for is weakness in the dollar. Most instruments are ready. All they are waiting for, or all what is needed right now, is weakness, further weakness in the dollar. And then you see very good opportunities. But if the dollar is stronger, you may not get the chance to enter some trades. Because, for instance, like USD JPY, it has gone so high, it's very difficult to buy when it's this high. So, but selling, there might be opportunities for you to in and sell to the downside. And so that is it. So let's leave it at that. We have also exceeded our time, even though we started a bit. So please, I think, yeah. All right. So please, for those of us that don't know how to place pending orders, I feel you should just go to you can come to our office, or you can go to YouTube. But let me quickly show you how you do that. Now, on MT5, it's very easy to set pending order, whether on your phone or on your laptop. So let's assume that I want to trade USD JPY. So watch what I will do now. Let's assume I'm interested in trading USD JPY, and my interest is to set a pending order. Now, how do I do a pending order? If I place my cursor, look at my cursor now. If I place my cursor above the current market price and right click, I place my cursor and right click, you will see this section that says trading. Tap on it. You will see sell limit and buy stop. These are the two orders that can be placed above the current market price: sell limit and a buy stop. So anytime you place your cursor above the current market price, you have the option to either place a sell limit or a buy stop. But this kind of trade we want to take today, we'll be placing a buy stop. So all you do is to tap on buy stop, and the trade will be placed. The order will be placed, a buy stop. Now, below the current market price, this line you see here is the current market price. Below that current market price, the two types of order that can be placed below the current market price are your buy limit and your sell stop. Remember, the first one was sell limit and buy stop. This one is buy limit and sell stop. So below your current market price, place your cursor below your current market price, you have option for a buy limit and a sell stop. So we are ignoring the ones that have the limit and only taking the ones with the stop, not stop loss. It's not a stop loss. It's a sell stop. This sell stop is placed when you expect a continuation to the downside. When you expect that the market will continue to go down, that's when you place a sell stop. And if you expect that the market will continue higher, then you place a buy stop. So the buy stop and the sell stop are used when you anticipate continuation in price. If you expect or anticipate that price will continue in the current direction, then you place a buy stop or a sell stop. The buy limit and the sell limit are used when you expect reversals, when you are anticipating a reversal. Place them at the point that you expect that the market will reverse. But for trading news, you are not waiting for reversal. You are expecting continuation. You are using a buy stop and a sell stop. So I hope that is clear enough. So the person that asked the question on buy stop and sell stop, someone is asking, what does 0.05 mean? 0.05 is your lot size. Your lot size. Please, if you don't know what 0.05, then you need to attend our classes more often. So the 0.05 is your trading volume. Now, for beginners, we recommend 0.01. But once you advance and you have been trading for a couple of times, you can increase your lot size. So the lot size you see there, or the 0.05 you see there, is my trading volume. And how do you set your trading volume? You can set your trading volume from up here. If you click on this, you will see this box. Look at my cursor, this box here. In there, you can set your trading volume. So I think we have done enough justice to this analysis. So please, ladies and gentlemen, as you proceed on your trading, please trade with caution. This is NFP, and I wish you all the best. Now, if you still have any question or any challenges, what we have done so far, and reach out to me, and reach out to and come to any of our offices or area, ask your questions, and then you can also go to our YouTube page. We have these videos recorded and then posted there. You can always reach us there. All right, so someone wants to know my name. I'll type my name so that you can give me a few minutes to just my name and then my phone number. So I'm sending a message now. That's my name and my phone number. If you have any challenges or any question you wish to ask based on any of the things we are discussing today, then you can reach out to me on the number that I'm sending now. Number also is my WhatsApp number. All right, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you again some other time.